Thank you very much, Jake, for allowing me to record this. So, your show, take it.
Oh yeah, no, we have Leonard O'Neil back with us again. He was with us last night and got to jump in with us, and we're doing our regular podcast with Michael Pena. And yeah, we're all just
Thursday
sitting
nights,
down
baby. If I publish on Saturday, but whatever, Thursdays is when we do it.
That's like me with my MP3 file. I do the MP4 file on Friday night, and then sometimes I'll get it up the same night. Sometimes I'm too tired after the show and I wait till Saturday. So my Friday night show goes up on the MP3 file broadcast on Saturday from the day before.
Oh yeah. I dream on the day that Jake can actually take us live and we can make all this work on that live schedule. My dream is to be like, quite frankly.
So you missed it the other day. Me and Michael McIntosh were going. We went live. We had our first call in, and yeah, he called in and talked to us for about, I don't know, a good hour. He jumped on Michael's Bitcoin when he got introduced to it back, I don't know, 8 months ago by Michael McIntosh, and then he started doing it, and now he's apparently, he quit his old job, and now all he's doing is Bitcoin now, and he was kind of coming on to thank Michael for the good advice. And I was like, man, Michael's been pushing it on me, and I haven't been ready to make that kind of a leap yet. I don't know about cryptocurrency.
It's crazy. It's an individual. It's if you can let it, because he said you got to hold it. You got to buy it and hold it.
Do.
It's not
when the whole thing started,
like stock market.
When the whole thing started, I had these guys come to me who were starting it. And they were like, bro, you need to get in on this. There's this thing that's called cryptocurrency, and it's called Bitcoin, and you need to get in it right now. And I was like, oh, I don't know about this. This is freaking me out, especially since my feelers had said the CIA was the one who introduced it. So I'm like, anything they introduce is doing for weaponized purposes. They never do anything to help anybody. So I don't know, man. I don't know if I should get involved. Now I wish I had, because I would have so much money right now.
That's
had I got in the very beginning.
But that's the thing. I don't know when they're gonna. Sorry, I don't know when they're going to bail on it. I feel like it's going to be treated like a stock. They're going to raise it up, get you to get in, and then everybody's going to run the fuck away.
Well, look what happened today. If you guys are paying attention, Elon Musk had that Bitcoin that he was promoting, and one of the people who were the investors decided to pull everything out, and the price of that Bitcoin dropped by 10% in less than 5 minutes, then dropped another 8%, and I haven't looked at it now for about an hour and a half. But they're taking a big, huge loss on it because, again, just like you said, they brought it up, and then this guy said, sell, like a stock market.
That's, I was doing a master's in economics, like I was telling you guys off air. But one of the things that drove me away from economics in general is because I was looking at the mathematical and the scientific method to analyze it and try and figure things. And in the end, it ends up being more emotional and psychological. And when you see how the big systems are able to, through experiments that were developed in the 40s and 50s, let's not even get to who actually developed those experiments, but what they learned from those.
Another whole show.
What they learned from those is how the human psyche works. Okay. And so they've been able to manipulate that into a way that makes us believe that we're doing things that aren't necessarily to our own benefit because our psyche told us that that's good. They've overwritten our personal preferences in so many ways. That's a problem.
With all these algorithms that they have that are tracking us, and they sell that metadata to somebody, and they just profile us, and then they go in and basically change us psychologically to fit their profile to sell stuff to, just like you just said. And so they're getting into everybody, and they're basically trying to change that. And this jab with this shot, I've been told, is the beginning of all of that. It's the number of the beast, like you said before. It's literally if enough people get it, they're going to turn it on.
So
have you given Leonard the list of cautionary words to be careful?
You know what? We went over that last night, and I was like, that's why I said the jab, and I shouldn't have said the shot after that, right? Yeah,
it's not that. It's the other things that you said afterwards. There's a whole list of things. For example, Marfugel is a specialist on that. Mine's going up on Rumble, so I don't care. You can say whatever you want. But
all we have to say,
right? Right.
All we have to
I've had to
do-
speak, I've had to speak like, like that character that they say is crazy, that alphabetic letter. I have to speak like that, because if you don't, the algorithm picks up on what you're saying. So you're absolutely right. And I wasn't thinking just then. So
Because
I'll
we're
make sure that I
flowing,
don't do
because
that from
we
here on
agree.
out.
all I have to do,
We're in
all I have to
synchronicity.
do,
Yeah.
all I have to do to cover our butts is we're not medical experts. We're giving our own opinions on things. That's what we're doing. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why I'm interviewing you guys, is
Yeah,
because
in my opinion.
your opinions on things. And I mean, I don't know if you have a medical degree, Leonard. No. Oh, okay.
Nope.
Michael,
Nope.
do you have a medical degree?
I've watched more than 300 hours of medical doctors that have PhDs and have given their dissertations on the subject. No, I'm not a doctor. I just like to fucking study because I like to know
Well,
my
I
shit.
did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. So I mean, I'm not a doctor. I feel like I could qualify.
That's good, brother. That's good. Stay on the Holiday Inn last night.
God, I miss American commercials, man. That's one of the
Right.
things about TV. But in 2003, when it was a rock 24 freaking 7, I said, I was used to global information. I was reading about France. I was reading about Spain, Germany, Greece, Japan, Taiwan, and in some cases, in others, Malaysia, and whatever. I was keeping up with the world. And when the world focused on, because I liked CNN for like news. I've been on them since 86. I was 14 fucking years old when cable first came out, and news, headline news 24/7. It was repeating the same thing, but at least I knew what the fuck was going on in the world.
Right.
Trusted at that point, but during the second Gulf War, they were just that all the time. And like, dude, okay, that's a part of it. There's a whole lot other news. What else is going on? And then I went to BBC, same fucking shit. Then I went to TV Uni, which is the French news, same fucking shit. Then I went to Deutsche Welle, which is German, same fucking shit. I said, what the fuck is all going on with this? And so I went online and I tried to find alternative news sources, the ones that were really covering the things that were, not of some globalist interest to indoctrinate a population to a certain direction and motive. Because the synchronization of the wavelength is what they want. But that synchronization can't come from manipulation. It needs to come from the individual saying, what do you want? How can I help them? Not my will be done, but yours, which is going to help them. In the end, it will help me. Why? Because that's the way karma works, because that's the infrastructure that he set up. Sorry, Jake, I interrupted you again.
No, you're fine. I was agreeing with you. That's the problem we're dealing with now, is these ABC corporations are now dialing into the internet as well. And that information that you used to be able to seek out is getting harder and harder to find. It's all becoming the same platform spread across,
saying the same things. But getting back to the topic that Leonard was talking about, which was, I have a tendency to diverge, trying to expound as much as possible so that the founding can actually make sense. But within the program that they've learned over the last 40, 50, 60, 70 years, they know how to program your brain. And actually they have beams that can do it from outside, but it's a lot more difficult. There's lots of things to consider, and it's not always good because you have your own personal free will. What they want to do is get beyond that. And a study published by actually a presentation to the Pentagon by Bill Gates in 2015 or 2005, I need to remember, to where he was talking about, I think it was more 2005, because they were talking about calming down the radical Taliban and all that kind of shit. And so they found the point in the brain that extreme jihadis, or people with extreme religious intent, is most focused in those times. And he found a way to be able to restrict that part of the brain to make you more docile and programmable. Now, who's to say that that thing that he came up with, or at least expounded 15 fucking years ago, isn't something that's real and is in tiny little particles that were programmed to get together after a period of time and through different trajectories through the body to specific points in the brain and self-construct and then attack that specific part of the brain that inhibits you from meditating and connecting with your higher consciousness. And at that point, they have you, the Borg is one.
Agreed. And that's been the plan. And if you look at when we had this whole thing start back in March of last year, all of a sudden, guess who donated all the computers to the kids for free? Microsoft, right? With this programming on there that was algorithms designed to do the same thing to the kids while they were sitting there watching the school, while they were teaching them critical race theory and all this other stuff. When your parents
subliminal programming we didn't know about in the 50s, right?
Right. Yeah, it wasn't until the 70s when they were doing it in the 50s. It wasn't until the 70s that they passed the law.
That's what I'm saying. They're doing the 50s. 70s, we found out about it. We eliminated it from commercials so the Coke wouldn't have this buy Coke, buy Coke, buy Coke every 7th millisecond to where you didn't perceive it, but your subconscious did. And you're like, I want to go out and buy a Coke. I don't know why. It's my own free will.
Yep.
That's why I also got away from marketing, because it's all about human programming and I want people to be free.
Right.
And the only way to be free is if you know.
Yeah. Now they go product placement where you get to see the label of everything, right? You notice that, like, well, in an episode of a television show, they're all driving Chevys. They're all driving Fords. They're all driving, whatever. And you go, really? So they got the bid on that car, right? On that company got the bid for that. So they still do it. It's just not in that place where we can't pick it up with our eyes, but our brain picks it up anymore. But it's still there. You know what I mean? They're just putting it up. It'd be like me, when I'm doing this,
All right. Cool.
Right?
See, we gotta start charging for that shit. Maybe Marlboro will help me pay for my fucking program.
Right. Right. That's funny. Or I'm sitting here and I'm talking to you, and as I'm talking to you, I'm doing this.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, I just made a mess on my table and I have to clean it. I make sure I show you the label, right? As I'm getting paid.
Thank you very much.
It.
Didn't Mike Myers do that on Wayne's World?
Yes, they did that on purpose. They were being blatant. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna enjoy.
And they would make like Pepsi. Totally bad acting while they did it, and then we're gonna drink a Dr. Pepper.
Yes.
Remember?
I think they were pushing Pepsi at that point.
They were pushing Pepsi.
Sorry, right. We're talking over
pushing you. Pepsi.
Oh no, you're fine. I didn't want him to trigger you with the Dr. Pepper talk.
I love Dr. Pepper. That's the one thing that I really miss. Dr. Pepper and Taco Bell. I mean, I miss those.
Dr. Pepper.
I don't think Leonard knows where you're located.
Well, from what I gather, he's talking like he's in Brazil somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're from the United States, yeah.
That's a little bit more
complicated. Background's a dead giveaway.
No, I've been there. That's not where I'm from.
Is that Peru?
That's Machu Picchu in Peru. Yeah, that's the title cover of my channel, because it's me.
Right. Okay.
Everybody takes the same picture because that's the one place in Machu Picchu where you can actually take a picture like that. Otherwise, it's impossible.
Well, and it's a great visual. I mean, look at that background,
you fall down a 2-mile cliff and shit. So yeah, everybody takes the same picture from the same place, but that's just me with nobody else. Because that was after I'd seen the condors, drank my bottle of wine, and smoked my cigarettes, and everybody else is in the souvenir shop, and so I had the place to myself. I took advantage.
Right. It's a great shot. I mean, look at it. I mean, it's a beautiful shot. Why wouldn't you? If I had the opportunity to go and do exactly what you did right there, I would take that same shot. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then you place yourself right in front of yourself, and you just got the perfect backdrop.
I'm still there.
Right.
But the focus of the channel, see, I use this because this is the most beautiful thing that I've seen. The other thing that I usually see is for like my Facebook is when I was in La Paz in Bolivia, and I actually walked through one of those mirrored. My wife calls me Narcissus, and I guess I am. I love me. But also the basis of my book, the title of my book is The Universe and You, Why Both Matter. Why? Because there was this philosopher from Sao Paulo that I listened to on TV that says, when arrogant people come to me, I like to remind them, when they ask me, do you know who I am? I say, do you know who you are? You're one among 7 billion people on one tiny planet, among one star, among hundreds of thousand stars in a galaxy. So in reality, who the fuck are you? And so that's a way to denigrate people that are arrogant and everything else. But if we take that to its other extreme, to where you're looking at somebody who, you know, both their parents don't have a great education, they're struggling to raise their 5 kids, and everybody's trying to find their way through, and all of a sudden they're telling you that you're not important because the world's going to go on anyway, then what's to say that you're the fifth among 5? You're not gonna, nobody's gonna miss you. There's a lot of mouths to feed, and so you jump off the fucking bridge. No, every life matters, and every single person was born here for a reason and a purpose and a personal destiny. That's why each one is here. And that's what my book, I want to explain the best. When we understand the synchronicity of the vibration of love, true love, which means disciplining your kids. You don't let people do stupid shit because they're going to get their face blown off with fireworks, or they're going to drive off a cliff because they're drunk off their ass, or they're going to end up with 8 kids because they weren't responsible and they just fucked around with everybody, or whatever negative consequence that comes from life and the bad decisions that we ultimately take with our free will. Because that's what this life is about. It's the free will, but at the same time, if you're given a token, make the best of it. And if you spend
You have
that
to know
credit
that.
card unwisely,
Yeah.
the debt's going to come and you're going to get recycled.
But see, and I agree with you. They have to know about it. The first step in avoiding a trap is knowing of its existence. So I agree with your message, because we have to get that word to people so that they understand that message. Don't run that credit card bill up. Why? Because here's the consequences of that. Pay attention. Right. So I agree. That's one small thing but I agree with you. If we don't teach our children how to succeed, we're setting them up to fail. And that's what happened to us with our parents and the parents before them. That's why we're in the mess that we're in right now, I think, globally, because no
Set
one's
up to
teaching
fail. I
our
don't see
kids
us
the right
necessarily
things.
as
Right?
failing. None of us are necessarily starving. However,
Right.
we're not reaching our ultimate objective and potential. And that's true because our ultimate objective and potential has increased because, you know, the level of the beginning. My parents always used to tell me, you know, everybody's got to go up this ladder. And why does everybody have to start at the bottom rung? If I can help
Right.
you, if I can get up to the 3rd rung and I can pull you up to the 2nd rung, at least you're starting off on the 2nd rung and not in the bottom rung. You know, so each generation helps the other one up, and that's the way it's supposed to be. Anthropologically, families help each other. That's why humanity succeeded. Anthropologically speaking, many
And
scientists say
kids start out with better advantages. I mean, if you look at us compared to our parents, then look at the children that are growing up now compared to us. We knew a time, at least I did. I'm 53. I knew a time before computers, right? And I had to learn computers. Kids now, they're growing up with a laptop in their hand and a smartphone in the other one, right? They're like 4 years old and they're already knowing how to wipe a hard drive.
first
what I'm
world
saying?
problems. First world
So-
problems.
Yep.
What I've started to notice more is, at least with my generation, I'm in my 30s, my early 30s, and my generation has become less and less likely to do for themselves rather than allow somebody to do for them. They're happy to take the handout if it's the easier way to go, rather than, you know, actually work and earn something themselves. And I don't know, that's something my dad instilled in me a long time ago. My dad was,
Yeah.
why? Because it's easier. I mean, I feel like it's an easy option. I mean,
That was
Why
part of
didn't
the
you do it?
programming.
You said your dad instilled with you a certain work ethic.
well, and I think sports also did that to me. I learned that my hard work paid off. It wasn't I liked coming home from a practice and being tired, because I actually felt good. I'm like, oh, you did something. You bettered your body today. You're a better athlete by the end of the day. Like little things. Even if you're just talking about that at your work, maybe you know I organized something that it wasn't part of my job. I just cleaned this up just because I wanted to do it. Like you actually feel good about those kind of things, you would think. I mean, I did. That's what made me want to work with my hands. I'm more of a physical person. I think I would go nuts in an office, but I just think putting in that work. I mean, even doing little things. Maybe you're more of a mental person. Doing a Sudoku or whatever, or a crossword puzzle, you kind of feel good about it at the end if you get it all done. I mean, if it
Video
gives you a hard
games don't
time, of
count.
course, but
Yeah,
What's that?
video games. Well, it depends on the video game that you're doing. If you're doing a single person video game where you're not interacting with other humans and solving problems, you're right. It's not the same. But I think if you're having to solve problems with other people to make something work, and I don't mean first person shooter games.
See, that's
Right?
that's my problem. I've
Yeah.
got 4 strategy games that I do. One of them is fucking Lego. But anyway, I'm a child. But yeah, I do them. I go after the quests and try and solve things. On working with other people, to me, and I need to. I have to, because nothing that I've actually done by myself succeeds. I only succeed with others. Why? Because that's the resonance. That's the message that he's trying to get to me, that I can try and, tell people how to do it. Now, how do I tell people to work with others when I don't work well with others? I don't know. That
Right.
might be something that I felt here in Brazil for the last 20 years, or maybe not. Because people told me I worked well with others before I came here. So, and then when I got here, they told me I wasn't a team worker. So it's a difference in perspective. What do you consider a team worker?
Right.
I'm not a drone. I help others whenever I can. If you have problems and I have something that I can help you, I'll ask you if I can help, and then I will help you when I can. But for me to drone on and just do think about the unions in the Northeast US, companies that are unionized. If you want to innovate and do something within the factory floor, the union guys will pull you over to the side and say, hey, man, stop that. You make us look bad. Shut up,
Right.
sit down, do your freaking job. That's what you're paid
Right.
for. You're not here to make everything better. You're here to do your job, be a good robot. Don't make the rest of us look bad, and stay quiet. That's how I felt for well on 2 decades.
Well, and sometimes it kind of rings true. When I was a retail manager, when I first started out and I was an assistant manager, I was a go-getter, man. I was trying to make money and I'll impress the bosses. And this guy who was a career manager, he came to me and he was in the store and he was on his decline. He was getting ready to retire. He came to me and he said, Leo, you need to slow down. I said, what do you mean? He says, you need to stop doing what you're doing. You have a great mind and you're going to go far in retail and you're going to make a lot of money. He says, but the only way you're going to do that is if you do it like one thing a year, one spectacular thing a year, or one thing that bails you out each month so that you make your money. Because eventually you're going to be going up against your own numbers. And if you blow your wad now, what are you going to do next year or the year after that or the year after that? He says, you have a great mind for thinking this stuff through and it may not bother you, but at some point you're going to be going up against your own numbers. And if your numbers are 50% above the numbers that they were expecting, you're expected to do another 7 to 10% above that next year. Remember that.
I figured that out when I was 15, which is why I started being a B student. Because it was a lot easier to get a B plus than an A minus or an A or
an A minus or an A. Yeah.
There was usually about 5 hours of study difference. And at that point, when I figured out that there were people that were in normal classes that they just did the homework, even though they didn't learn anything, they just did the homework. They got the A's and got all the honors and everything else. I was in honors classes a year ahead of everybody else, which is more difficult. But at the same time, I wasn't willing to do the A plus thing. There were people that went to Stanford, MIT, and everything else, Harvard, that studied with me. And these guys were seriously eggheads. They spent 15 hours a day studying. I spent about 5 hours a day studying, but I wanted to party too, because I thought life had a little bit more meaning than just doing that. I might be so fucked because I'm playing Lego video games at 50. So I don't know.
Well, I'm not gonna lie.
Keeping your brain
At the end of the day,
you're keeping your brain frosty by taxing it. Anything that you do to tax your brain to make your brain work is working it out just like a muscle. So I don't look at, when you said I play Legos, that's like Tetris, man. When you're doing Legos, you got to create,
Tetris.
Yeah, right. I mean, you and I are of that age where we grew up with those games, so we love those things. Defender,
that Russian game.
Frogger.
Oh my God, it's fun, Russia. These guys are geniuses. What the fuck are they thinking about? Because they were, the chess champion at that time was Russian as well, and it was a competition trying to see who was going to be better. But when life is too fucking comfortable, you're not looking at necessarily competing, because fuck competition, let the river go by. I'm good in my lazy boy big screen TV and drive in. I can order on iFood anything that I want to eat, so I really don't have to leave the house. like that .com guy in 2001. You remember .com guy? No, that was like 98 or 96, something like that.
Had to have been because everything started like in 93, 94. Yeah.
He was the .com
that's
guy. He
when-
was in Dallas. He could prove that you could live without leaving your home because of the benefits of the internet. And he did. He got his groceries delivered to his house. He got his work.
I think
What
it was
did-
93 to 95 is when they started making the free AOL discs. I remember getting those in the mail and seeing them on like magazine racks.
Oh, I used to love GDD. You got mail. Yes, somebody remembered me.
Mail.
Spam. Fuck.
Yeah. Right. Well, you know, and that's the way it was back then. I remember with the old dial-up computers, you know, the modems. Yeah, we used to have to sit and wait, right? But it was the fastest thing on the planet. And now I have the second fastest speed you can get for in the United States for a civilian. And I'm going, come on,
We're impatient,
think
right?
slow.
It's not fast enough.
Not fast enough.
I paid for
Yeah,
speed.
and that's
You're not
the
giving me
unfortunate
100%
thing,
of what you're only
because-
giving me 70% of what I paid for. Give me the
Right.
100%.
And you know, and that's the whole, I mean, I watched a guy who is literally chipping himself in different places. He's going Borg full on. He's got like 8 chips in him.
Biohacking.
One, he walks up with his hand and he touches his you know, his alarm system. It goes off. Then he uses his finger and he touches it and the car starts because he has a chip there and a chip here. And he's got another chip over here on this side to unlock the gas tank. And, you know, and I'm just like, wow, some people are really going to go with implants. Wow.
Well,
That's
it's a
kind of
lot
scary.
better than this whole fucking stack of keys. I mean, the keys that my mom and dad used to have were like this freaking big. What if you just
Yep.
put a bunch of chips in your hand and you're good? But at the same
Wave
time,
your hand. That's the mark of the beast in your right hand or your right forehead, right?
do you remember Cloud City Bespin? You
Yeah, what is that
remember
from?
the Lando Calrissian's aid?
Yes.
That you had
Yeah,
to
and
hold
he had the thing on, and it was hooked in, and yeah, and all of the other
into
men
the
did too.
central computer system of the city.
Yep, Lando was actually able to look at him and blink his eyes and tell them what to do. That was badass. I remember seeing that. I just watched that the other day. It was on TV. They were running a marathon on the 4th of July. And I turned it on and I actually watched them in Cloud City. And I remembered, thought that to myself, look, there goes Lando blinking. And the guy blinked at the other dudes and they were all talking to each other through the computer.
Yep.
I was like, what? Yeah.
And then you got R2D2 hacking into the central computer to find out where everybody's at, and that, you know, they deactivated the hard drive and everything, the hyperdrive and all that kind of stuff. That was
Right.
back,
And then that scene, the hyperdrive's not turned off. Yes, it is. How do you know that? Because the Cloud City central computer told me that.
what? I don't believe you. And he just goes over.
Yep. That's
That
hilarious.
that was what, 93? No, 93 was Return of the Jedi. That must have been like 89.
It was, yeah, it was. It was like 86, 89. That was the Empire Strikes Back. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
86, 87, somewhere around there. Now,
Yep.
question to you, posit this. That is 10, 20, 34 years ago.
Yep.
And we're doing that. We're trying to do that now. And well, in essence, we do. It's just not, but Elon Musk wants to do that.
Right.
Because once we
Well,
get
you know, they go
Neuralink
into-
in there,
it
we'll
goes
just
into the
add
same
more
thing.
expansion kits to the Neuralink.
Right. Well, you know what? I was watching the one of those, I think it was America's Book of Secrets, and they were talking about doing that, and they were actually working on it. They were showing you how they had actually implanted a couple of things that could screw in diodes in this guy's head. And they're working on that whole thought process of controlling stuff with the mind so that you don't have to use your hands. I said that about remote controls because I grew up in a time when I was the remote control. Dad would go up there and change the channel. No, go to the next one. Wait,
No,
move the antenna.
Changing the channel.
Click, yeah, and then move the antennas.
Yeah.
Wait, don't move. Put your hand up, right? And so then it came. We had
Then
an
don't touch
antenna
the
outside.
antenna. Stretch out your hand and
Touch the
stand there
antenna.
for half
Go
an
get your
hour while you
brother.
Watch the
Yeah,
show.
touch your brother. Yeah, right. Put your brother's nose. Touch his nose. Have him put his hand up. Yeah, right. So then we had an antenna that was mounted to the side of the house, and then my dad had this thing that he moved. Click, 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 and the antenna outside would go boom.
That was advanced, man. I didn't get to that.
And that was
point.
way advanced, right?
Yeah.
That was new stuff, right? And then it evolved
You're
to
getting
having
satellite
cable,
TV, buddy.
satellite. big satellite dish in your backyard, huge one. Now they're only about this big, you know. But back then it was the size of Mount Everest, sitting in their back lawn, taking up the spot where the pool would be, you know.
But how is life better now than then? I have students of mine that call me Professor Google, and the reason he calls me that is because anytime he had a question, I had an answer for him because I had looked it up, studied about it. But the reason I did that was, one, I had access to 5, 6, 7, 8 different cities, and I would love to go into the libraries, and every time we went to an airport, I'd go into the bookstore and get magazines and maybe some books that might be interesting to read. And whenever I drove on the highway for 3 days straight, I didn't drive, I rode in the fucking back doing my homework, and when I was bored, reading. So yeah.
See, we're that generation, we're the dying generation of readers.
But now
our age
I speak
group,
3
I'm only 3
languages
years
and it's
older than you.
useless. I even lost my job because my boss told me Google Translate is here.
Google Translate. Yeah, you lose your job because your boss says Google Translate. Oh man, see. But that's what's going to happen. They're replacing people with machines. They were talking about it today, just as I was watching the news today, talking about how they're ramping up the delivery drivers going to be robots. And now you have somewhere here in the United States, you have delivery drivers that are the robots making the pizza, cutting the pizza, putting it in the packaging, and then putting it in the robot for it to be delivered. So
what's
going to happen
They're all programmable processes. It's all scientific.
Well, what's going to happen to the people? People say, well, they're going to have jobs making the robots, but you have to understand they have to have the education and the money to pay for the education to get that job to make and do work on the robots.
Now you
90%
understand
of the
why
population
they want
can't
to
do that.
reduce the population so that they have less that are depending on the teat of the state to survive, because there's nothing that they can ever do again. Because the AI and the robots will do everything for them, which means that they're like WALL-E. Remember the movie WALL-E?
Yes. Yes, it's exactly like
The
that.
people went on to
now you're delving
line,
into
they're
the
around a
temporal war.
supernova, beautiful view, everything's perfect. They're useless.
Yep. But see, now you're delving into the temporal war. See, the temporal war is in conjunction with the Hopi rock legend and the Aboriginal from Australia legend, and many other cultures around the world legends.
So we're going to go down this rabbit hole.
You're going to split in the timeline, right? Yeah, right.
Thank you very much.
So,
I was afraid to touch on these things. I didn't know who
me
the
too.
fuck
I
knew
normally
about this
don't.
shit.
I normally don't, because you lose half the audience right there, and they think you're a kook for even talking about it, right?
But when you know things, you know that ain't unreal.
Yeah.
It's their perspective of what actually happened. Now we have to understand what it was that actually happened that induced those ideas. For example, reading the Sumerian texts and reading what the Sumerians thought about the Anunnaki helps me better understand what the Mayans were describing with their Quetzalcoatl, which is the same thing as the Bible telling us. And so you start putting all the
same story.
together,
Absolutely.
You're like, that makes sense. Yeah, it could be.
Yeah. Right. It's all the same storyline. That's like the Jesus phenomenon. Yeah, the Jesus phenomenon that has happened, Jake, has actually happened at least, I know of at least 7 other times in history. We had that exact same character with a different name that did all those things in different places.
The Maya said that we're on the 5th cycle of human society.
Okay, so there was a couple that were kind of skeptical that I wasn't sure about. Like, for instance, Joe Smith here in the United States, they claimed that they had seen this white-robed, long, blonde-haired deity that might be a Jesus figure, but that one was never really corroborated. So I agree with you. We could literally be on cycle 5 going into cycle 6 of that phenomenon.
Jesus himself said that before the end, there were many who will call themselves Jesus. Jesus, do not follow them. He's not coming back the way he came the first time.
That's right.
So we can't expect.
We have to look within. That's where it is.
When people don't understand completely the reality of what it is, they have a tendency of mirroring and copying, because that's what demons do. Demons can't create. They can only copy that which they've already seen, because they are not connected to the creator.
Correct.
So they don't know. They don't have that creative ability to make things happen, because that is God conscious. And that's a gift. That's the breath of God that he put in us. They can only copy, which is why what we're seeing right now is a repetition of 1945, even in the name. And, in Germany, they had this group that had the same name, and those were the communists that were going against the people that were in collusion with government and big corporations, which were all out to basically destroy humanity for their own purposes. And we're under that guise again.
I
But
was gonna
people
say,
don't
we're right there.
recognize
Yep.
it because they assume that it's always going to be something new. No, they're practicing the same freaking playbook. In fact, one
Yep.
of the main instigators was brought up in that reality, being a traitor and benefiting it from it greatly. And
Yeah.
he brought down the British pound, and one
Yep.
of his last wishes was to make sure that he could bring down the US dollar. And guess what? With
Yep.
the help of the Great Wall conglomerate,
Yes. Yes.
he has been able to do just that.
Certainly. And he's
Unless
here
we
doing it
wake
now
up and
proudly.
take our second
proudly
in our
bragging about
hand
it.
and guarantee each individual.
And he's working in conjunction with.
Hold on, I got to open the door
with,
for my wife. Hold on.
Okay.
He's working in conjunction with who?
Well, it's George Soros that he's talking about. He's working in conjunction with Mike Bloomberg, and like he said, the Chinese Wall conglomerate, Eastern Bloc conglomerate, and the DNC and a few other money, Bill Gates, all the money behind the Republicans and the Democrats, all the money that's behind both of those parties are the same people. Okay. I remember when I was like 15, 16 years old, my father was telling me that. Then who became my father-in-law, not too long after that, a year or two after that, said the same thing. You have to understand that the money that's paying for both these parties are the same people. The only difference is the difference that they let you think you see in the parties. The truth is they're being paid by the same people. That's just, they're doing that so that you think there's a difference and gives you something to fight for and against. And you don't realize that they're the same people doing the same thing to you.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, it shows just when you look at some of the friendships, like the fact that Donald Trump was friends with Democrats, Republicans, and every before the second is against him. And it's like, oh, okay. Like we knew you guys were friends before. We knew the Clintons went to your daughter's wedding, or you went to their daughter's wedding. I don't remember how it worked, but they were hanging out. It was a regular thing. And I mean, when
they still do that.
You're just involved in, it's a revolving door where they're just keeping each other occupied in politics.
So Michael, where we went, I just went further with that and said who we were talking about was Soros, and that he's in cahoots with the Eastern Bloc, and you have Bloomberg and Bill Gates and all the money behind both the Democratic
we're going to name
and
all the
Republican
names
party.
and make sure that the video gets taken down out of YouTube. And don't forget the Bilderbergers, the Council on Foreign Relations, and
which all the same
Society
people in
of
the money. I didn't want to go that far.
They're basically
go that
drawing all the strings for Disney, which controls ABC, which controls they've been buying up absolutely everybody. We all know that they're satanic, and they put so
now we're not going to be up anywhere.
So if we're going to just blow everything out, this thing's going to be annihilated from YouTube. But they're under lawsuit right now just because they have to be autocratic fascists in controlling what people say and think, and literally think, because they are getting into the point to where we won't have our free will. And that's exactly what the Bible told us. When you take the mark, you cannot be saved. Why? Because your will is not your own. You become part of the Borg. You become part of the hive mind. You are no longer of God's world. You are of the beast's world. You're part of the system. You gave everything up for the system. The problem is the system is really fucking nice. It's a pain in the ass to live outside the system. I've been training for fucking years, and everybody thinks I'm insane.
I wrote a book about it.
They might be right.
To show people how to survive completely without this, outside the grid, completely off.
Yeah, but I'm in the
grid.
middle of the city because you can't
That's the worst place to be, bro. I am too. The worst place to be is in the middle of the city. You got to get out of the city to survive.
I came to at a time to where I could actually get land, and one of the things that I always had in my mind when I was a kid growing up, listening to all my dad's rich friends, and they said the one thing that you can't make more of, land. So the only thing that's going to gain value is land. And so I always did that. And when I got here and I built my house, I had a friend of mine said, "Oh, you're living like an American. You got to have space. 80% of Brazilians live in apartments. That's their reality. That's what they do.
Yep.
I had an opportunity to build a house. I not only built a house, I built a yard. Why? Because I was thinking 15 years ahead. It's been 25 years. Okay. So, and I've got a forest, I've got, pet bird. They're wild birds that are bigger than chickens. These
Nice.
things fly. I mean, they got big wings and they come in and eat my dog food. And I put the dog food for the dog, and when the dog's not looking, they come in and take his food, and they hang out in the trees because I got enough big trees now, because after 20 years of growing, these trees are pretty husky size. Things grow faster down here. And so when everything else is getting cut down, this is reserved for them. And I'm with the benefits. I mean, shit, I had 9 species of birds that I hadn't seen before I came to Brazil, just coming down and having dinner.
Nice.
Michael, I got a question.
Go ahead.
So I go camping a lot. I like camping and getting out. And he was just talking about survival. So that was, I don't do glamping. I'm not, my folks are into that. They like to do the whole trailer and have it all set up on the waterfront. I like to rough it with a hammock a lot. My question for you was, when's the last time you went out camping and just spent a night alone by yourself? Just
I don't
no
go
one else
camping by
around.
myself. That's one of the most stupid things that you can do.
I was just gonna say, I've never done that.
No,
People
I
go
would only do that if
missing
I had
like
to.
that, buddy.
Yeah.
Have you seen a 411 or 141 or something like that? A couple
oh,
of months
missing
ago, there was.
411. I've seen missing 411, but I don't put myself in nature situations where I'm not comfortable.
Yeah,
I'm
the
not gonna
problem
go.
is that it's
I'm not
not
gonna
whether or
go.
not
I'm not
you're
gonna go out
comfortable
to
and
the
whether or not
mountains
you're
by
in immediate danger. It's about other things that take advantage of the fact that you are there. Nobody knows that you're there, and they can do whatever they
Yep.
want to you, and
Oh
you
no,
disappear.
no. I'm not saying you don't tell people that you're going out camping in a certain area. Like they can know where you are. You don't have to make it a secret. You can let people know, hey, I'm going out. If you don't hear from me, and so you bring your cell phone with you. Like I'm not saying you have to throw away all
I'm
your.
saying that when you're alone in the woods, things happen that are outside of your control.
I've gotten comfortable in camping situations. I know how to make a fire. I know how to catch my own food if I need to, and I also bring my own food too. I don't need to catch or do anything like that if I don't need to. But if it came down to it, I know I could do that and
Oh, I couldn't. I need to learn how
survive
to.
too.
But
I could
actually, I was
water.
trying to, one of the objectives that I have here, my hot water is solar. And I wanted to be able to have solar photovoltaic, but they didn't even allow that in Brazil until 2014. I was broke by then. And so the socialist Lula government came in, God, what was it, 2006? And so things went hectic after that. And we've been dealing with that crap ever since. But it made things a lot more difficult for me, because one of the things that I wanted to have is like a greenhouse with hydroponic vegetables that we can eat and consume. Now, they need nutrients for that, but they also produce waste in their photovoltaic production. And so with the circulation of the water, that water goes into a tank where you can breed fish that actually are adequate for those types of vegetables, or get different kinds of vegetables that are better for the fish. There are studies for this, and I could have paid, $1,000 back in 2007 and had that and been able to set it up, but I didn't have the money back then to do it because it's already been studied. People already know how to do this stuff. I just want to be able to implement it to where the crap from the fish goes into the bottom of the tank. You suck that out and filter it back in, and that feeds the plants. And the plants use the fertilizer from the fish dung. And whenever you're hungry, you go in there with a net and you grab the fish that looks biggest that you want to eat for that afternoon. Okay, that's my grandparents. I mean, I grew up on a farm, so having a couple of chickens for eggs isn't a bad thing. Now, I don't like the stench of killing a chicken, but at least you'd have eggs. So there's certain, and I've got a system right now. There's lots of rain that I have here. And so what I'm trying to do, I've collected and funneled the rain, but it's going to the rain sewer line. But what I want to do is redirect it through a filter system and have 50,000 liters of water that's filtered and treated and drinkable. People keep telling me, yeah, but you can't drink rainwater. Why not? And so I found out it's the oxygenation, it's the ionization, it's the impurities and that sort of thing. But there are different steps that you can put it through to where the water becomes drinkable. Yep. And among them is a beautiful thing, a waterfall. A waterfall oxygenates the water. That's what I learned in San Antonio, because that's how they cleaned up their river, which was almost pure sewage.
Just by the water moving, it actually cleans itself. But you know what you can do? We've done this where I did 2 different styles of, and I was working in Arizona on building one there, but I ended up leaving. My wife and I split up, and I ended up moving on my yacht over in San Diego. So I did, of course, a lot smaller, 30-foot yacht, so a sailing yacht. So I don't have, aquaponics there. But what we did was halfway down and then put growing tilapia in the pool, and did the same thing, filtered the poop by sucking it out of there and then creating a downhill slope like a waterfall with all the filtration, and the plants are in that, and they get the nutrients from the poop from the fish. And
I was just going to pump it into a cycle.
Yeah, and it pumps up into the dirt and runs down and grows the plants. And by the time it gets down to the bottom, it's now filtered and it goes back into the pool clean. Yes. And then above the water, we put chicken wire, and we made a chicken coop when they ran around on the chicken wire. And when they pooped, it went into the water as well.
So you're filtering with fish poop and chicken poop.
Yep. And then we grew duckweed, and we grew it in the water, which will cover the entire amount of water. It's illegal in the United States because of that, but we would grow it inside of buckets, and then we would pull it out of there and drop it in the pool. In the pool, the fish. So that stuff grew wild. So we would just let it grow, and it would try to take over. And then we would have the fish eating it, the chicken eating it. They're all pooping, and it goes down, and all that poop is now fertilizing all the food that you're growing and filtering the water back into the system. So the whole thing, and then you have eggs. You scoop out a fish that you want to eat. You grow some plants. You take your stuff. Now in the United States, we grew trout.
Wouldn't that be self-sufficient?
Completely self-sufficient, because it feeds itself. The only thing you have to do is
but you don't have the new car, and you can't go to the movie theater, and you can't dress up in the fancy clothes and impress everybody because you're got the bling, baby. Right. But you're alive. Right. When everybody
but you're alive,
else...
you're self-sufficient. Yeah. Yeah, did it with trout, because when you get above a certain parallel line, they don't let you grow tilapia like that. So we had to do trout here in California because we're above that line. But when I was in Arizona, I was far enough south where we could actually do tilapia.
That's the thing people always tell me. Laws are infringed when somebody complains that you infringed them. If nobody knows that you did it, then nothing happened.
Right. My father always said that. If someone has to witness you commit a crime for it to be a crime.
Otherwise, it's not a crime. It's just something you do.
It's not a crime. Yeah. Yep.
Now,
so what no one knows doesn't hurt anyone.
God's law and being an immoral fucking son of a bitch. Because he's got justice for that. And anytime that you are thinking outside of his divine will and looking at your own absolute will, I want this because I want that, and I'm gonna, but that right there is evil. Why? Because you're thinking about you above everybody else, and that's where all evil is born anyway. Yeah, we got influences. Agreed. Yeah, there's an adversary. Yeah, there's spiritual warfare. Yeah, there's influences and social programming and all the other bullshit. But in the end, it's your choice to listen to those voices or listen to his voice.
Yeah, and those are necessary.
Know what the right thing to do is, just people don't like to do it.
Yeah, everything is necessary. When people say we're in a war against evil, no, we're not. We're not actually in a war against evil. We're in a war over the minds of the people. We've
been at war against evil since the inception of mankind, when the adversary got here.
Right. There's no way to defeat evil, and there's no way for evil to defeat good. Can't happen. It's necessary.
Evil is a concept, though. Like evil itself, like what could be classified
just like Michael
as
said,
evil,
it's a choice.
Is a concept, and that's where I agree with you, Leonard. Yeah. I think it's a battle over the mind, and it's what they might think is good and what they might think is bad, and then they're making their own decision on top of it, which the morals should tell you whether it's good or bad. It shouldn't be the public's telling you this is good to go to war and fight this country. and it might not actually be good. You might not
Well,
be
hold
fighting
on.
for
Now that
reason.
we completely blew this episode out with all of the band talking points, I'm going to put another one up there. Q
Right.
said that in the end, God wins.
Whoa. Not Q. I didn't
You
bring
can
up
talk about
AJ.
everything else, but you can't talk about 17, or like another one said 8 plus 9.
Whatever it is. Yeah.
It's the same reason I didn't talk about AJ when you guys were talking about all of those other people.
All right. And it's why we don't talk about the Ivor or the H and the C to, the other thing that
Yeah.
are also options to improve people's lives.
Agreed. Everything is a choice. Everything happens because you're supposed to make that choice, right?
But supposed to doesn't mean that you're going to. That's where free will exists. Yes, there's destiny, but it's not predestined, because that's what
Right.
quantum physics, and that's why I started my entire video series on quantum physics, because in order to understand these big woo-woo things that everybody's been talking about for hundreds of years, but nobody knew why, science has now gotten us to the point to where we can understand how it happened. The why comes out of the Bible. The creator of all this told us the why. Okay, he wanted
Correct.
free will, because everything outside of this reality, there is no free will, which is, but why can't he forgive? No, because they left.
But see, now here's the
no free will.
question. Here's the question. What is reality? I'm working on a webinar that I'm putting together for the full moon that is literally called, "Is Your Reality in Your Way?"
Okay, hold on. That was a video that I was supposed to do on Tuesday, but we got into some stuff that I'll end up doing next Tuesday in Portuguese with my friend, that we're talking about the dialogue between Plato and Aristotle, whether or not the world was a result of our thinking conscious brain, or if it was material and that we learn things as we go, the evolutionary kind of model, and what I see as the origins of science as we see today. Everything's a big machine that can be controlled. Yes and no.
Yes
The
and no,
particles
right.
have been assembled over time as machines, but their essence is still resonance, which means that with resonance, you can eliminate them, destroy them, or move them, like those blocks. Those blocks in Peru that we were talking about before, Jake, there are some theories. Aaron had a theory that was novel to me. It caught me by surprise, and it's very interesting, to where it like gravel placed in with powder of some kind of stuff melted the gravel and turned it into solid stone or granite, which was really bizarre, which means that you can mold the stone. So that's a chemical way of doing it, which I hadn't heard before, and it's an interesting concept. It's possible. However,
Well, yeah,
one of the things
that's how you make concrete. I mean, it's
that's what we do nowadays, but it's not the same fucking thing that I'm talking about. But
No,
there's
it's
another
different.
thing, for
You're
example,
talking about like the seamless walls where it looks like they literally were able to mold the rock into place. And I
but
agree
they
with you.
did.
Yeah,
How
it's
do
not
you
the same.
mold
I mean,
rock?
theirs looks more like precision cutting. Like when we were talking about
But nobody knows what kind of a precision cutting tool can cut 15 fucking feet.
Yeah, or more.
Precision cutting tools that we
I
have
think
like
it's
3 or
simpler.
4 feet maximum, and then you're gonna have to reset it and put it in another place, and that sort of thing. Continue cutting, and you're gonna see the difference in those marks. The marks in these rocks are straight through. It's like
Yes.
as
That's
if
what
they
I
were
mean. I
molded.
think
But how do you mold
think
solid
it's-
rock? You mold it if it's not solid. How do you
Yeah, it has
make
to be
solid
pliable.
rock not solid? Through vibrations can liquidify the rock
Yep.
to a certain point, and then you remove the vibrations, and the rock solidifies again in the form that you want it.
Well, I
That's
think
my
if you just
I
use
think that's
sound,
only-
if you just use sound itself, the sound wave is going to end up pulverizing the rock. So I think it's more, and I
Depends.
agree with you. I think it's
Depends.
more of an electromagnetic waveform. So it is the sound with the electromagnetic waveform
It could
that
be.
keeps it in, that makes it slushy, just like an earthquake would happen.
Yeah.
And sometimes it would liquefy the crust because
Well,
it's
that's
not
what's going to
just a
happen with
sound wave.
Nibiru. It's already been explained. The
Well, I think-
normal
I think
ground is going to be
more
like
than anything,
quicksand
though-
because it's going to be expanded.
More
Sorry,
than
Jake?
anything, though, I think we're trying to apply our own technology to a past forgotten civilization. And
The problem
we
is
don't
that our
even want-
technology today is starting to reach something kind of like what they already had way back then. And
Yep,
people
and
couldn't
it's
understand it,
esoteric.
and so they tried to invent But now we understand it better, and it's extremely possible, but not given what we associate as anthropological social evolution as science has it today, because we don't
Right.
believe in Atlantis in the scientific community.
The human race has a lot more to relearn about residencies. And I think that guy with the stone garden who was really popular years back, who moved
Yeah,
it
the
all
one
by
in,
himself.
in
and they said
Florida. I can't think of his name right now. Yeah.
Yeah, and they said he used 2 cones, and that was the only thing. He moved all of the structures by himself, and they were huge. They were absolutely insanely huge. And I didn't understand how it would even be possible, even with pulleys and a system. He wouldn't have been able to do it by himself.
No,
That's
but you
because
don't have
he's
to do any of
charging
that.
the
There-
crystalline structure of the rocks themselves. So if you look at the Giza Plateau, they use sandstone. Sand is crystalline, and you can charge them with energy. So the crystals themselves,
But
you
it's also
charge
the
with a
same material.
vibration.
All has to be the same
Yeah.
constant material. It can't be a
Yep.
mixture of material. Otherwise, a
Right.
residency
So
is
the
different and it
coral
breaks up.
castle was all coral, which is also very porous. Well, just like that, and it's all the same material, just like Michael's saying. So when you charge that with an electromagnetic wave, it created that energy gets stored in there, and then when you change the frequency of it, just like Michael was
Anti-gravity, it
saying,
just floats.
Yep. it just floats because you
That's the
literally are
Hutchinson
changing.
effect too, isn't it?
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
didn't Hutchinson lift a bowling ball, a lead cannonball, and everything else
Yep.
through resonant frequencies?
Yes.
It seems crazy, but when you see it happening, that's science. Science tries to explain what we are seeing within reality. If
Right.
that doesn't mesh with other people's comprehension of what reality is, that's a whole nother situation. We want to understand what it is that we're
the
living in.
biggest thing, I think the biggest complication with our reality with that is the fact that we think a solid is a solid, and we think there's no way something can pass through a solid.
Well,
And
what's
It's
worse
also a
is we
liquid because
think-
over time it just kind of
right.
lumps.
That people don't realize, and Michael's onto it. People don't realize. Here's the key to that. We think a solid's a solid, a gas is a gas, and light is a constant, and light is a wave, but not a liquid, and that's wrong thinking. That's all backwards thinking. All of it is the same. It's just a different modulation of the same frequency. When you
Light is a
understand that,
particle and
Yeah.
a wave. That's already
Yep.
been proven in quantum physics. It's that duality that allows us to understand that there is a spiritual world in another dimension that we don't want to admit because science hadn't been able to explain it. But
science
now
doesn't
that
want to
science
explain it.
can
Right.
explain it. It tells us that everything that the Bible told us is true.
Yep.
We just
And they're starting to realize that
couldn't understand
gravity is what in Star Trek they refer to as the force. That is the mitochondrials that live and connect everything. They're now saying gravity connects everything in the entire universe. It's not just what holds us to the planet. So
No,
if gravity is alive,
gravity
it
is a construct of what constructs. Don't get the string confused with what's tugging on the string.
no. Yeah, no, I agree with you. That's not what I was trying to attempt. But
Remember
you're right.
that-
If I
that,
didn't explain that, you did.
Tesla told us about an ethereal field, the
Yes.
0 point.
the 0
whose
point.
energy, whose universal energy we try and tap into when we reach the right energy levels and frequency waves to
Yep.
be able to create over unity.
And that was the last webinar I just did. We just did a webinar on the full moon of June, which was actually called 0 point. And we were talking about exactly what you were just talking about. First we did pneuma, which is the spark of life. That's the Greek word, the spark of life. You mentioned that earlier when you said the breath of God. We did in May on the full moon, we did pneuma, and that was the creation, the beginning of the spark of life. Know that you're the spark of life. Then we came to a 0 point from knowing and understanding what we told you last time. Now the vibration gets you to the 0 point. And we focused on that, and then going past that, we decided instead of going to 0 point energy, which would confuse people, just like you were saying, don't confuse what's being tugged by what you're seeing. We decided to call it "Is your reality getting in your own way?" So in that respect, we're going to kind of pull people through the 0
Are
point
you
now.
still living
and
in the
creation.
matrix?
Yeah. Yes, that's where we're going with it. We've done this each full moon for the last 4 months now. We've had a webinar where we've had guests, and this time I'm downsizing it to 4 speakers because we were going 12 hours a day for these, and they were just too long for me producing the whole show. I'm sitting here for 12 hours. I don't get much of a break right now. So
Well,
we've
hell,
downsized the time
I'd
limit. But
I'd
we're
love
still
to help you out on that one. Sounds like
yeah,
that's right up
I'm
my
sitting here
alley.
going, I just met this guy, but I'm listening to everything he's saying. And I'm thinking in the next webinar, this man's going to be on there. So
It-
we'll
it's
talk off
called- it's
camera,
called
brother. You and
resonance
I.
frequency. We're on the same vibe, brother.
Yeah. Yep. We'll talk off camera because I would love to have you on to speak and to do like a whole presentation. And we'll figure out what our next thing is going to be. Or maybe I'll talk to the people that I'm putting this together with. Maybe we can jam you in for the end of this month, which is 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now. So you'll have 3 weeks, but don't quote me because I may not be able to get you in, but I would love to just because of everything I've heard so far.
Hey, I'm game to anything that's going. Why? Well, first of all, this entire web series is sort of I'm writing out my book verbally, kind of. The structure that I have in the book is trying to explain what matter is, how it, because I grew up physics. I was making holograms when I was 17, 18 years old. And so,
Nice.
quantum physics is really getting, I read Richard Feynman's work and when I was at Cambridge, I was in Cambridge and I went to the Coop, that's it. The bookstore that's there outside of MIT and Harvard and shit. And I bought Stephen Hawking's book, Time. Oh my God. His book on time, but I keep thinking about his second book, which is later on. A Brief History of Time. Sorry. Yeah.
That's what
so yeah, that was my light reading, right?
right. Yeah. That was your light read. I love it.
So I was really always interested in the quantum field and all that kind of stuff. And so that was my thing. But at the same time, I was brought up, partly raised on a farm, and not raised on a farm, but I spent a lot of time on my grandpa's farm. And that gives you another moral base and another perspective of things as well. And my entire life I've been trying to join the two because I know they're both real. People only want to believe in one or in the other, but they're both describing the same reality. And in the end, I'd have all this stuff in my head, and my wife would say, "Yeah, but what am I going to do with that? I got to pay the bills and feed, put food on the table." So I want to bring it back to how understanding all of this can make your life better. Because in the end, I think I haven't done a great job with my life, but at the same point, the objectives that I had for myself, I've done. And some of the other esoteric objectives like, build your house or have kids or plant a tree or write a book. The only thing I'm still having to do is write that book. So I'm still on that list with those certain objectives. And there was something when I was in high school, I remember studying people that jot down their objectives and their perspectives and write journals. That's like 10 to 5% of the population. But over time, you start seeing those same 5% that wrote things down and created those objectives and started, ticking things off their to-do list in an organized fashion, had a tendency to be those 5 to 10% that ironically were luckier and did better than those others that were just living life by.
Right, because it keeps you on point, keeps you on focus. It keeps you striving for what you were going to achieve because you're expecting yourself to do something at a certain point.
But what is it that you're going to achieve?
Your
Your material earthly goals of riches, women, and fame, to die at 27? Or are you going to put your treasures in heaven to where what you're going to do is going to benefit others? Because the seeds that you plant will grow to give you a benefit, but you have to plant those seeds. And it's not about, getting yours now. I need my bling. No, it's about others understanding to be happy with what you have, who you are, because you're where you're supposed to be. But, the thing is, you have to know what your destiny is. There's a Japanese saying that says that your ultimate goal in life is to discover your own destiny.
Right. And the only way you can do that is you have to look within. You have to fix you. Yeah.
To find out where you need to go. And then the rest of the world, like Buddha says, just sort of melts away. Because and then you get into the stoicism that Ryan was talking about, Jake, to where if you're on your path, the world is just a stream of water that goes around you. You continue walking on your path and you let the world flow with its problems, with its preoccupations, with its styles, with its demands, with its say this word today or say the other word tomorrow. Let it all go because it's all of the world. Because you've got your path, your goal, your destiny, and you just go on that and you try and harm as few people as possible getting there, because ultimately that destiny is going to benefit as many other people as possible. Why? Because that's why it's your destiny. God put it before you to help others. We're not here to help ourselves. We're here to
And
help.
what I've noticed, like with, I don't know if it's just my generation or people that I'm around, the biggest problem with people's own personal success, I think, is envy. Looking at somebody else and what they have and
Keeping
talking
up with the
down about
Joneses.
they
Yep.
have something, yeah, jealousy, however you want to classify it. I think it's one of those things that can be so detrimental to your own health that you don't realize it. You're spending time worrying thoughts about,
Yeah.
how well somebody else is doing instead of just being happy for them.
Well,
Why
and that's
wouldn't
the
they just
ego.
want the
Beyond
best?
that,
The ego, that's the
the
ego. It has
worry
to be there.
itself is self-destructive.
Yep. That's all ego. And it's all, it
Yeah, why
has to be
can't
there. It's
you?
just like evil. It has to be there for you to be able to grow.
But see,
You won't
where do we
grow if
get
it's
those
not
wishes
there.
from? I keep telling people when I got here, it took me 10 years to not be a materialistic person. But what's
Right.
my wife still tells me I'm materialistic because I don't let her throw things away because I hold on to my car. I haven't gotten rid of this thing that I bought in 2003. I'm materialistic because I don't want to sell the house to use the money to do other things, and I just hold on to my stuff for dear life. So that makes me materialistic. No, but she doesn't understand what
I
materialism
think
is in the U.S. In the U.S.
there's a
is you
balance
have all
between.
these advertisements and you want to buy, 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 buy,
Yeah.
buy. Make
Well,
the
there's a
economy
balance
run.
between materialistic and then wanting to get your value for something that you put into. Like for me, if I spend $200 on a tent, I'm going to camp in it several times and make sure I get my value's worth out of it. I'm not just going to throw it away when I see another tent that I like. Like I'm also, I get the idea of holding on to a car that you bought a long time ago, as long as it still does the job for you and it's still,
Yeah,
performing.
but it
I don't
doesn't
see why you
impress
wouldn't want
people and it doesn't attract the babes because it's an
Right.
old hunk of junk.
Right. But then if you're that type of person where that doesn't bother you, you've gotten past that ego problem to where it's nagging at you. I want mine. How come I can't have that? I want to keep up with the
No,
Joneses.
I
Look at
have it.
those
I
guys
see
are rich.
BMWs drive around down here because this place really reminds me of the US in the 70s and 80s. Okay,
Right.
they're progressing through that cycle that we were at, and it was a glorious time to be in the US. I mean, it's a frightening time to be in the US right now because it's almost like Russia in 1917.
Yeah.
It scares the
It's
piss out of me.
definitely Nazi Germany, 1938 for sure.
They're all consequences, or 45 in China. They're all the same
Yep.
movement,
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
but
100%.
it reached the mainland. Now, I can't say a damn thing because I moved out. I mean, I consider myself a bush exile.
Right.
Granted, God led me out here because he gave me my wife in the most bizarre circumstances possible. I mean, I met her at a carnival dance, a Brazilian community carnival dance that I didn't necessarily want to go to. I met her there, and then a year later, I went to the States. But she was like, we went to Dallas. But she's like, I go to the beach every weekend. Where's the beach? Well, that's 4 hours down, Galveston and that sort of thing. But I wouldn't recommend going there. Don't worry, twice a year we'll catch a flight down to Cancun and we'll get a real beach. She was used to the real beach every weekend down here. When I came down in '95 to visit her family to know what I was getting into, I had Oktoberfest. I had 2 birthday parties. It was springtime here. And so I visited the beaches, and there are like these mountains that are behind me. This is Peru, but mountains similar to this and vegetation like that is all around here. And so the things that people used to wish and want whenever they're, freezing your ass off in the Northeast, somebody in Ohio freezing their ass off the wind off the lake, right? They're going, oh, when I get older and I don't have to do this shit, I want to go down to Florida or somewhere where it's warm, close to the beach. I want to retire. You don't enjoy your life after you're that age. Why not enjoy it while you're still at the age to enjoy it? Which is what my thought process was. And if this place has all the things that all the retiring folks wish they had in life, it's right here, then what's the problem? Well, the problem is materialism, because you can't make that much money here and things are a lot more expensive, and you can't have the same type of expectations that you did in other places. But at the same time, I see a BMW go by because people are able to buy them somehow here. I can't. And I feel envious because ever since I was 8 years old, I had as a personal objective, had a BMW 325i. That was something that I saw in a magazine. I love that car along with the Lamborghini Countach and those things that are psychologically drilled and ingrained in my brain. I don't think I'm successful until I'm driving a fucking BMW. Now that is a mental construct, that is programming of that time, but it's still essential. It's still that Pavlovian tick in my brain.
Sure is.
That's how deep that programming goes. And it's dangerous.
I think it makes a difference. I think it makes a difference if you think about it as a goal or if you think about it as something that's holding you back until success. I think there's, like I said, you've got to put the best spin on it and motivate yourself for it, because
I wanted a BMX bicycle when I was 6. My parents bought me a Rampart R10. It wasn't a BMX. Was I going to be pissed because it wasn't a BMX? It was a freaking motor bicycle that I could ride on the dirt. It served its purpose. Why am I bitching? But God gave me, this is when I knew that I had the ability to see things, because in my dreams, God brings me things. And so I saw this in my dream. I saw this blue bike and it had this really bizarre name that I hadn't ever heard of before. And I'm looking at it going, what is that? But anyway, I woke up and didn't think anything about it because it was like the beginning of December or something like that. And, on Christmas morning, I wake up and I unwrap my package and it's my dream. It's that freaking deja vu. I have deja vu all the freaking time, So it's like, but I was frustrated at that going, but I wanted a BMX. And so I worked through that frustration before I actually got the thing. So when I got the thing, I'm like, thanks, Daddy. Because I had already worked through my frustration beforehand, because my real father had let me know beforehand, hey, don't get pissed, chill out, say thank you. And he's always with us. And that's the thing that people don't understand. And he's always been with me, whether or not I recognized it or not.
I think that's another thing we've lost.
It's a true story.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the other things that we've lost recently is people's just appreciation for gifts, or the fact that somebody else would give them a gift. I think it's really lost now in children and, the younger generations. Like I've seen people throw down a game that they got for their birthday or Christmas or whatever, because it wasn't the game that they wanted. You're not just happy that you got a game or that somebody was thinking about you and got you a present, and the actual, the idea behind the whole gift exchange. I mean, you hope that they develop it over time, but it's worrisome.
Those are first world problems, Jake. And the problem is it's a first world reality. You guys live in the US, but because I'm not living that damn bad. So, we live today in this millennia, the same or similar as what kings did back in the day. Now, I've had people that are actually, I don't know, but kings had food, and then there's really, but some of them didn't have their own but they had indoor plumbing. Yeah, somebody else had to dig it out. They had to have workers. They had to have people, lots of fucking people and lots of money to do what we take for granted today.
Yep.
You can take a dump in a toilet and it goes somewhere where it doesn't bother you. You can open the tap and have fresh, hot or cold running water that you can drink. You're not worried about catching some kind of plague. To where you can open a refrigerator that maintains a temperature.
And you end up getting dementia, like the whole of Rome, because they had the wrong pipes. They were using lead, and they were all getting dementia from drinking the water. We don't have that problem anymore. We filter.
Or drinking beer out of tin cups, like the Vikings did, which is why they put little bells on their toes when they die. And you actually had somebody in the cemetery to stay up at night, because when you woke up after your 3-day stupor of alcohol poisoning because of tin, you'd be moving around and your toe would move a bell, and the guy, the grave digger, would know, oh, this guy's still alive. We buried him.
He's still alive.
Early.
He just put himself in a coma from the tin. Yeah, agreed, right? Yeah.
People forget about those things about history.
Yep.
Life wasn't as easy as what it is today, and so we don't appreciate it. And like my wife tells me, why are we going to scare them that things are good? No, because they have to know about the benefits of where they live and what they have. And it's not just, I'm going to go feed the machine and the machine's going to feed me.
What if the machine breaks down? Yeah.
Yeah, or when the machine fucking takes over and doesn't let you be you anymore because the beast system has you.
Yep. Yep.
That's a whole nother
Yeah,
story.
and I agree with that. I wrote a book about that. Calling it was literally prepping for beginners, prepping/survival for beginners, how to survive in the 21st century. And literally, that's talking about that, because they get everybody hooked on everything. Like they say you can't grow your own food. Now you have to go to the grocery store. Well, they own
Why
it.
not?
They can just close it, turn off the power, close it. You have no food. Banking, that once you have any cash, as soon as we had this problem start back in March of last year, it was, we don't want to touch your cash, and I have used the card. So now your cash is useless until recently, when they started
Well, I've
taking
been using a card for 15 years with a chip here.
right.
So they gave into
I
that
use a
lot.
card with a chip here for now. I have 3 of them in my pocket right now in my
I
wallet.
don't have
They have
3.
chips on
I've
them.
got 1 because I remember I had 4 when I first got into college. That's dangerous shit. It's a whole nother reality. Yeah, and I've been out of that for 25 years. God, is it that long? 22 years and 3. I got here in 97. So fuck, 24 years. Yeah, holy shit. Yeah, it's different. I focused on family when I got down here, and so I can say that my objective was realized. I've got one that's 13, another 16. He's 16, graduating from technical high school, and he's thinking about college when he's 17. That's freaking fantastic. Okay, most people aren't at that point. So yeah, okay, what's my next objective? Okay, I mean that's part of what my book is. You keep putting down these objectives, setting out the steps, and trying to get there. And so the book actually is kind of my next objective, and my channel is part of that. And giving speeches or lectures or anything else is also part of that next objective. Now, between doing or between thinking and doing, there's this whole thing in the middle, but it's that creation of reality, which is part of the whole 5-question sequence that my buddy in Portuguese is doing, which is the materialization of things. How do you make things real? Well, if you understand the process for how they go, and one of my favorite analogies that I always use is like reading the ocean for the waves, because it helped me in economics as well. I don't surf. I body surf, but that's just because whatever. I like to play with the waves. But whenever you watch those movies and you listen to them and what they're talking about, they're like, you see the wave out there and you see it moving in. And when you try and do it, you realize that if you just try and catch it when it's there, it's moving too fast and you can't do it. You have to see it beforehand, get up to the speed. And when it's there, then you feel it start to catch you. And then you sit up on your board and ride it. And then when you're on the momentum of the wave itself, then you can play around and do all the things that they give you points for. But the beginning is recognizing, seeing, waiting for, anticipating, preparing for, and taking advantage of the wave. Those waves come in economic cycles, they come in social cycles, they come in all different things. I mean, it's even biblical, the 7 years of hunger and the 7 years of feast. They all come in waves, and they're all cumulative. You don't have one thing that happens one instant and the other instant it's another thing. No, they all build up on each other.
Right. Well, see, that's all the sacred geometry. And that's, I did an hour presentation on Earth Day on that, and showing the algorithms and showing how everything is all a part of that.
I'm gonna have to find your channel, Leonard. I'm definitely have to watch your stuff.
Right. Yeah. You'll have to check it out. There was 2 of us that did presentations talking about the sacred geometry. A bunch of us, actually. If you go and do the Earth Day, we did Earth Day. There's 8 parts to it, because I do 3-hour sessions, and then I start another session. So we did Earth Day for 2 days, 12 hours each day, the day prior here. So it was your Earth Day. So we were live for 12 hours, and then we went live for 12 hours on Earth Day in the United States. And we had different speakers each day. And we were building up, talking about all of that, talking about sacred geometry. So all of that is absolutely, if you understand the harmonics of the resonance of the universe itself and how it works, then you can see these things. This is what Michael's talking about. You can see these things, you can see these waves, and you can predict them, and you can get ahead of them. It's the same in everything. And people don't understand it. Like, for instance, people think I have really good reflexes, and I tell them I have honed my reflexes because I understand gravity. right? So if something is you're throwing something to me and I need to catch it, or I'm dropping something, the biggest problem that we have is we chase it. I drop something and it's falling and we're chasing
Know
after
where
it.
it's going.
Yeah, not where it's going. If you go to where it's going, just like Michael said, where you know the wave's coming and you have to get up to its speed, and then you can ride the wave. So what he's doing is catching the wave. He's catching the wave. He's catching the wave, not chasing the wave. He gets
Or
ahead of it
building
and
the
rides
wave,
it. So you're
creating
getting
my
ahead
own
of it.
wave.
Yeah.
No, I'm catching a wave that's coming. Depends on the wave that you want to catch.
Yep. You have to get ahead of it. So you have to first identify it. Then you have to get your brain to identify speed. Well, speed and
Timing.
distance is a constant, right? On this planet, there's laws. So you know that those waves can only travel at a certain rate of speed. You, as a physical being, can move faster than those waves, or at least build up.
Depending on the size, because if they're too
Depending on the
big, you need a
size.
jet ski to pull you in.
Right. Because then it is moving faster than you could possibly move with your hands or your
That's
feet
the
or whatever.
thing,
Yeah.
all of these waves, they circle back. I mean, we were just talking about cryptocurrency. That's a wave right now. That's currently a wave. The people that got in and rode the wave in the beginning, they rode it out and did well. And
Yeah, but who
now
knows
that-
if it's about to crash and I've got
Done
my things
well.
getting back to the B and the type of currency.
Right.
Because who
Right.
knows if it's to take everybody's money out, get it confident, and then boom, because something else is coming in and that's now worthless. Because we're
Right.
taking
But I mean,
over everything.
just like a stock is also a wave. When
No,
you
it
Yes.
see- when
Everything is. Yeah, absolutely. Everything is.
everything has this
Yeah.
this burst of energy.
Except the
and then it
stock
rolls
market
out.
can actually be influenced because that's an emotional wave and that can be built up through propaganda and marketing by the big players. The big
Yeah,
players
hedge
get in.
funds.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's how they lied about the about Waterloo, and the
Yeah.
control of England changed just on
Yep.
the information from Waterloo.
I just watched a podcast recently. I think Russell Brand did it. He sat down with the guy that is based on the character that Leonardo DiCaprio plays in Wolf of Wall Street.
Really?
I can't think of his name right now.
Yeah.
But
I can't either, but I know who you're talking
it's
about.
the actual guy that he's out of jail. And yeah, he's doing interviews now, and it's very interesting to hear his perspective. They weren't too far off with that movie. They were actually pretty spot on about, just how he was living his life and
Because
how he felt
that's
like
how
he was on
they
top
are.
of the
That's
world. And he,
I wanted that life. I studied for that life. I pushed myself for that life until my father told me that's not the life you want. This one's a little bit better. Now I'm broke as fuck. I don't have my Lamborghini. I don't have my 3 houses and 4
But you're
yachts.
happy as hell, right?
Content.
Content.
okay, so let me ask you this, Michael. As a Christian, and I know you're more committed than most, do you think money can buy happiness?
Absolutely not. Now
Yeah.
it can make you seem happy superficially, but the problem
It
is
can
that it's
give you
only
that
temporary.
stuff.
It's
Yeah.
only for that instant. And when your money's gone, you're like the prodigal son. You're living in the pigsty, trying
Okay,
to
so
get
what
back
if
to your
it's-
father's
what if-
house.
What if money's endless? What if
Then it's
Well,
meaningless.
eventually, yeah,
Then it's meaningless.
because eventually you have
And then
everything
you're
that you
Hunter
wanted.
Biden.
Yeah. I mean, look at Hunter Biden. Eventually you have what you needed, and then you get bored, and then you go, what else is there? You go, all right, I have all the car, I have the Lamborghini, I have all the money, I have all the women, I paid for all that. Now what?
What else is
that's the
off
first 6
limits?
months. Now
What can
what?
I do that nobody else can do?
Right. So then the
And so
debauchery
now we got
starts.
Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk racing who can get to Mars first.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
But
You got
are
the
they
space
running
race
away
going
from
on.
justice because they know something's coming?
Former
Well-
President Joe Biden is an honorable man, and he lost a son. So we gotta at least give
Oh
Hunter
yeah,
a
this is going,
chance.
you still think this thing's going on YouTube, buddy? Yeah, it's going on Rumble. They ain't gonna shut me down. In fact,
For a
Rumble
minute and a
was
half,
opened up
bro,
because of
right?
fucking Hunter Biden's laptop because YouTube wanted to shut that shit down. Fuck off. Free speech always prevails. That's the whole
Hey,
thing.
you
As long
know,
as there's
speaking of
human
that,
spirit,
just so
there
you guys
will be.
know,
Kamala Harris does not approve.
speaking of that, I because I transfer my MP4 files to MP3 files and then post them, I have yet to have any MP3 file censored off
because
any
they don't follow
platform.
voice.
Off any platform. They're not, I don't put them on, except for if I put them on YouTube or Facebook. But when I put them anywhere else, they don't censor. Even Apple Podcast hasn't censored my stuff.
Just because it's MP3.
I don't know why. I just know that I've noticed that when it's
Maybe
MP3,
it's too simple for their AI. Their AI.
maybe they're
doesn't go
not
back that
looking
far.
for it because they don't think it's hitting enough people, or it's too simple for the AI. I don't know, because nothing has, everything that I've had deleted, I've checked on both the places I post my my MP3 file and where it goes out to, unless it's taken down from a site somewhere that I don't have access to and I don't even know that I'm broadcasting there. But on the bigger channels, including Apple Podcasts, I go there. I go to iTunes, I go to Apple Podcasts, and I check, and they're all still up. The ones that Google took down, and the ones that YouTube, which is owned by
Google,
Apple, right, or by Google, they're
Which
still
also
up. So,
have a database of all your genetics,
right?
because they're looking for
Yeah.
a selective
I mean,
gene
think
strain
about
that's
how
better
many
than the
cameras-
Merovingian strain.
right.
Michael, think about how many cameras are in your house. I mean, whether it's the camera in your phone, the camera on your computer, you could get a full layout of anybody's house just by turning on their cameras.
I read about that exact
letting them
same
walk around
situation
and
when I was 12 years old. They
Right.
made us had reading of the specific book by an author who had written another book about strange things like, the invasion of the world or something in the 30s. And so he wrote this other book about this dystopian future that was absolutely impossible, to where we'd had cameras in every room, and there would be
Yep.
this entity called Big Brother that would control
Yep.
everything you did. And they had this ministry of truth that decided what you could say or what you couldn't say. And oh my God, that's just, they're saying that's the future, but look, we're there when he said it was, and it's not. So don't worry about it.
Agreed, because it's not. We've already passed that. We're pushing past it, and it's not. And people
And
need to
yet
stop worrying
we're
about it.
there. The
Yeah.
ministry of truth is now on trial. But as
Yeah.
soon as this wave goes by, they'll be back to their old games. And Revelation tells us that they will get that whole thing together in the end and try and define their supremacy over this planet.
Right. Yeah. And but see, that is done on purpose. It has to be done. The boogeyman was created so that everybody would evolve, because before that we weren't evolving. Think about this. If in
If
this
everything's
scenario,
comfortable, why are you going to evolve?
right.
Give me my
So
coconut
according
and
to
banana
the law of
and
one,
my hammock.
that's what
I ain't gotta
happened
do
prior
nothing.
to the veil, prior to the forgetting. Everybody knew who they were. They knew that we were part of the one, and that we would get there. And so, what's the hurry?
And
There was nothing
you have your
driving it.
destiny. You know exactly what it is, and you know it. Yeah, tomorrow morning I got to wake up and go meet this guy who's just going to appear out of nowhere in the middle of the path. Yeah, I'll talk to him. But in the meantime, I'm going to sit down and drink my coconut water because I don't have to.
Because there's no reason for me to do anything until then. Yeah, agreed. So they had to create the mind wiping. The mind wiping was created. The veil was created, and then the boogeyman was created to chase us. So it doesn't matter. It's moot point. People go, "Oh, we have to fight evil." No, you don't. No, you don't. All you have to do is be nice, be good, look within yourself.
Going back to Jake's question, fight evil. Yes, there is an evil adversary whose objective is to do everything opposite of the creator, because the creator wants our benefit. He created this holographic universe for us to have free will.
Yep.
And the cost of that free will was his son to understand that. And under my understanding, he got together with his son and his son said, yeah, but I want to know what they're going to do with. Seriously, I know what it's going to do, and it's going to be costful. Are you willing to do that? Yeah, I want to know what they're going to do. And so the filter of Jesus Christ is the filter of the interference pattern for the existence of this universe. He is the Word, and through the Word was created. Okay.
Right?
Now,
what was the word? The word was logos. And what is logos? Well, logos means love. The universe was created through love.
Exactly. But in order to have free will, you have to have something that's not love.
Correct.
Otherwise, you can't choose.
You can't choose. So there has to be a
Not
choice. So you have
love
to create
is
the
really,
evil.
really good for your immediate self,
Yep.
which is why people choose it.
Yep.
Maybe
So
it's
none of it.
because
So,
I'm
so most
50
of
that I
it's
finally
moot
see
in
that.
truth. In truth, it's moot if you understand that it's there for you to make the choice, and that you decide what you do. Once you get your reality out of your own way and get yourself out of your own way, then you can go, oh, okay.
You
So
have
all of
to be
this
born
is a play.
again.
Yeah, exactly. All of this is here for me to decide and then work through these problems. Like Michael said before, they keep arising in front of you, another one after another, and they rise for you to then rise yourself. And once you do that, other people around you, this is what he said before, you have to fix yourself. And then other people around you, you affect people, and that affects people, and that goes out and goes out. And there's that same algorithm again.
You watched my chaos theory video then.
No, I
thought
did
that was
not.
in Portuguese.
No,
I
I did
thought
not.
that was
That's
in Portuguese. I didn't think you'd understand. I haven't subtitled it yet.
No, I'm not. I'm not too fluent in Portuguese yet. I'm learning, but I'm not too fluent in Portuguese yet.
All right. Because that's what I talked about in when one of my football players asked me about chaos theory. He was just playing with me because he thinks I'm chaos. Because I'm just
People get
when
the
I
wrong
got to get
idea
things
of
done,
me
I
as
get
well.
things done.
Yeah, right.
But
Yeah, people get the wrong
idea
idea
of chaos theory
sometimes,
was
and they
more of a
think you are
scientific
something you're
basis
not.
of like the butterfly creating the hurricane on the other side of the planet. You know, those
Yeah, the
little
butterfly
interactions.
effect. Yeah.
So I interrupted you, Leonard. Sorry.
No, I was agreeing with you. We were saying the same thing.
We're in sync. Jake, time in. It's one of those psychological instances to where the topics sort of meld off. Psychological constant. I learned that when I was in college as well. So you prepare for it. What other topic did you want to, because man, we've gotten into some seriously good topics today, have we not?
Yeah, big giant circles, right? We did. I like where we went.
But then again, we get big giant circles is one, how we create the material reality itself, because the things that are without material, but with energy are synced because of gravity, because gravity is linked to the energy as well in the electromagnetic universe. They don't come in and glob. They continue traveling, but they change their course. And so after a while, they're all transferring.
Yep.
And so the creation of the material world is actually a vortex. And the planetary orbits that we see isn't, this disk of things going like this. It's the sun
the Taurus.
flying through space at tremendous speed, spinning with its huge mass, creating this huge vortex in the ether. And that vortex catches up like a big tornado, catches all these other planets, and the ones that are the furthest away are the ones that, actually, I'm not sure where Mercury and Pluto would be in that vortex. I'm assuming Mercury would be close because it's not really close to, because I'm assuming the big part of the vortex would be closer to the planet because they cone towards the end. But see, that's
actually the way it works is the 0 point is in the center of each planet. It makes the Taurus. That's the 3, 6, and 9. Or actually 3, 6, 9, 12. That's the vortex that's around you, me, created from your heart. We have that aura. That aura is the same thing. It's the Taurus. That's the
actually the body is the interference pattern of the aura with this material realm.
Correct. And everything else has its aura. So the earth itself has one, the universe
Gaia
does, so everybody does, and they interact with each other by polarity because of the laws of attraction. And so gravity is what connects that gets that spin going, right? And all of that is driven by, like you said, driven by, say, 3. We're the 3 number. 3 is us. That's our thought process or our intentions with the energy that we create. We consume food, we create energy, we think, we create. We are part of the logos. We are part of the creation. Not part of the creation, we are the creation. I'm a small little piece of the one. And so
we're also
Michael.
co-creators of a new reality.
Right, and we're co-creators. So all of us together as a hive mind complex create the reality that's here on this planet by utilizing our energy, our thoughts. We all agree that the sky is blue.
The collective construction of the world. Cities are built because people decide, oh yeah, okay, they're gonna, yeah, all right, I don't disagree, yeah, sure. Nobody, they're all in resonance to where that's allowed, so they go. So yeah, it's
boundaries are that way. Michael's in Brazil. All the people that live within those boundaries have all lived together and say, this is the boundaries that are Brazil. This is us. We're Brazil, and then you have small little cities.
This is the mentality that we're
towns.
going to adopt. This is what we're going to accept. And if you don't think within these,
then you go outside and make your own.
Yeah. Because it's a resonance pattern that interferes, and any kind of interference pattern that is shocking. I mean, you got those sine waves. You've got a sine wave this way and a sine wave the other way. Whichever one is positive or negative, it doesn't matter. It's the end result that matters in context. And so all of them being in sync allows you to reach that end result. The problem is that when you've got waves that are opposing, they nullify themselves out and nothing gets done. And so you need to avoid those nullifying. And in many cases, I end up being one of those nullifying influences because I like truth and I like to get things done.
I was just gonna say that with those, if you're actually a forward-thinking person or thinking like you do, that clashes with the thought processes of people who
Of
don't
people
want
of
that
the
to
world.
be. Yeah.
Which
But then,
I'd like to
but then that doesn't mean that we're necessarily wrong. And the problem that we have is that our entire bodies have to be tuned properly for us to actually work within the bounds of that, frequencies, to work with it in harmony with it instead of against it. So if we're not eating the right foods, if we're not getting the right sleep, if we're not balancing our chakras, if we're not thinking properly, we're not meditating, we're not getting ourselves to a certain place where we're harmonic, then we're not harmonic with nature. Then we're not harmonic with each other, right?
The reward of sin is death. Anything
Right.
that we do that's wrong out of our resonance that will eventually lead to our habits kill us. It's not what
Yep.
we do from time to time. It's the things that we do every day that build up that resonance within the body. That's what does it. Because whenever we're living against his will, which is, the basic, what did Jesus do? He ate and he traveled and he talked and he helped other people. Now, there was one of the ones that I like to quote. There was a centurion who came up to Jesus and said, I'd love to follow you, but I've got a family. I've got a job. I'm a centurion. How can I do that? I can't just give up everything and walk with you. And he says, no, you do what you do, but you do what you do well. Don't be corrupt. Don't be violent. Don't abuse other people. I mean, you're into what is, justice and law and do that. Do your job well. Whatever it is that you do it for others and do it in benefit of others, because that's what we do, any job in God's will, which in the end is what he wants for each one of us, because each one of us has our own destiny that in the end is within his will, which is why Jesus said that anything that you ask in my name, I will give you, because anything that we ask in Jesus' name is already in resonance with the things that God wanted for us, and he already put it before our path for us. And that's why Jesus always said, don't ask like you're lacking, ask in thankfulness, because he already gave it to you. I'm done. Sorry.
Right. And that would be why you would say, like, what we call grace, where you say thank you for this bounty for which we're about to receive. If you're, Catholic, depending on the Christian religion that you are, differences of that, but it's still the same. We thank the Lord for this food that we've received. But
that also has another thing, because you're putting your resonance into, because a lot of things are water. And so you're putting that resonance into the water and you're actually improving it. And water memory and the effects that the Japanese already proved, and the studies that they did on where sounds affect the water, and also the water can affect plants and their growth patterns and everything else. So that
the Egyptians knew that as well, with the churning of water. When you get the water churning, that spiral motion of the water, and it does that naturally. Yeah, it does that naturally on its own. If you watch a river and the way it ebbs and flows through the landscape, that's not done because it was just lazy. That's done because of the harmonics that is needed for that water with the earth, and it actually moves around corners, and each corner has an eddy that is spinning, and that's purifying and charging the water,
because it's constantly changing the riverbed and everything else around it.
And that creates energy.
The resonance of the dirt.
Yep, charges the energy around the dirt, gives life. That's why there's so much life that's there. It's not just the water that creates the life; it's the energy that's being created. Yeah,
because if you got stagnant water, you got all kinds of different life that ain't good for you.
It ain't good for you,
like
right? Because then the water tries.
That's why you have to drain the swamp.
Yep, that's why you got to drain the swamp. Good one, brother. But it's true. That's why you got to drain the swamp. So the water.
After all, where we go one, we go all, right?
Yeah, agreed.
Well, guys,
I won't say that aloud again because you said it once, so I won't say it because that'll kick us off for sure. But yeah,
no, it's fine. That won't get us off. But what I was going to say was
on 2 hours of this.
Yeah, well, we might as well actually wrap it up. And I want to thank both of you guys for coming on. I'm just going to end the YouTube podcast. If you guys want to, if you want to continue recording, Michael, that's fine. I'm just going to end our YouTube session. So if anybody wants to catch Michael's
I'll keep recording a little while longer. I don't want to go over 2 hours. Otherwise, Rumble, people might not want to watch it if it's really.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
But it's a good conversation.
When I post on Rumble, I got to keep it under 2 hours. Otherwise, people go, that's
actually
too long.
for the focus of people, it's less than 12 minutes.
Oh, no, I agree with that. If you want to make videos where you're going to get a lot of hits, go less than 12 minutes. Agreed.
Yeah. But you know,
Our
like,
average,
taught us
our
that they're
average view time
tonight.
right now. Our average
But,
view time right
Jake,
now.
your
Michael,
YouTube is yours, so let us know.
our average view time, Michael, right now on YouTube is 45 minutes per viewer.
It went
So
up.
we're
Nice.
actually
pretty good.
succeeding. Yeah, we're actually succeeding way higher than average when it comes
Thank
to.
you for those of you out there that tuned in and stayed tuned in for more than 30 seconds. And those of you who have been here for 45 minutes, I love you.
Oh man, the people who are here till 2 hours into this thing. I mean,
Yeah.
holy cow, give me your number, send me your email, because we got to talk. If you had the patience to actually absorb this, we can go places.
I got some followers that'll do that. They'll stay through my whole show and they make comments through the whole show. And I love those people and they know who they are.
Well,
love
I'm a
them to death
Marfugal
because
fam.
they, you know.
I love Marfugal, and I'm usually on there as much as I can. I love that, and that's why I like the live interaction as well. I'm not to that point yet, but it's one of the objectives.
Yeah, I love the live interaction. Some people get annoyed with it because I'll stop doing something to talk to a point that somebody's talking about in the chat. I had somebody do that when I'm doing the alien interview, which is about the 1947 nurse in 1947 Roswell, who was actually communicating with the alien. I won't get into all the details. I did that with Jacob last night, but I'm doing that. I have a video and it's playing because I did the Law of One for 3 years and I think 7 or 8 months to break down all 6 books of that. So what I do is I play a bit. And then when there's something I think needs translating, I stop and I say, listen, this is what I believe, in my opinion, that this means they're talking about. Let's go on from here. And that way people get a better understanding of what's going on. So I'm doing that with that book now as well. And I have someone else is reading it. Some guy put it to Reddit, and because it's not a computer program, you can tell. He read it and I'm letting him do that. And then I stop and I talk about it and I take questions live. And some woman said, your constant cutting into this thing is completely annoying. You need to stop. And I'm like, look, if you're just trying to listen to this 4-hour show without me talk, I'll send you the link. Man, go and watch the link by yourself. That's not why that's on you.
The video itself is 50 minutes long. Not going to play. The link is in the webpage below. Go follow it.
Go and watch it. It's actually 4 hours
commentary
long.
about it.
It's actually 4 hours long, 4 hours and like 32 seconds or something, just to listen straight through. So I've already done 2.5 hours and I've only gotten 15 minutes in. Right. And so she's all annoyed. I'm like, look, go in here. Here's the link. Go and watch it. Leave me alone. I'm here for people who would like a discussion about this.
Because every quanta of time has an infinity of possibilities, probabilities, and things that need to be
expressed or unpacked.
Exactly. In order to best comprehend. Because when you go as a locomotive through everything, there's lots of stuff you miss, like a flyover country.
Yeah.
Exactly. You miss a lot of stuff when it's
a lot, man. There's a lot of life going on down there that you're just like, yawn. It looks like corn.
Yep.
Yeah. Agreed.
Exactly.
There's a lot of stuff. So that's what I tell people. Don't get mad at me because I'm stopping and talking. That's what this show is about on Friday night, is unpacking stuff and getting it out
drunk and come along with me.
Right. Yeah. Get drunk and come along with me. Right. So, yeah. So I just laugh when they say that. I go, look, go somewhere else then. Why are you on my channel? This channel for this video is about that discussion. It's about you asking questions and me trying to answer them with the best of my knowledge. And if I don't have the answer, I'll tell you, I don't know the answer to that. We'll look it up and we'll get back to you. I'll circle back to you, Jen Psaki, next week.
That would hurt. That's cringe.
That was a little knife there.
With that, we will wrap it up on YouTube. Thank you, YouTube, for letting us stay on, but we'll have to let you guys go. Thanks, Leonard. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you, Jake. Appreciate it.
I don't know. It won't let me stop.
It won't let you stop because I started recording, maybe. Otherwise, we'll have to do what Louder with Crowder does. Hey, YouTube. Piss off.
Right. Yeah, we'll make them stop. Here, they hate it when you do.
You want to continue watching? You got to go over here.
Yeah, well, here they hate it when you do this. Let me do. Hey, YouTube.
But any autocratic power hates it whenever you question them. And my buddy that comes over here and is doing my videos, he tells me, I get extremely annoyed whenever he disagrees with me, which isn't very often. I consider him like one of my disciples, I guess. He considers himself, I guess. But